Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into one of the really big names in biotech, Moderna, ticker symbol mRNA. This company, well, it just exploded onto the global scene during the pandemic, didn't it? And now they're really at a crossroads, a pivotal moment. We've got a stack of analyses here looking at everything from their cutting-edge mRNA tech to their financials, their market position, all through the lens of you, the American investor. Our goal today,
Cut through the noise.
yeah, get to the core stuff and give you a clear, actionable picture of what's driving this company. We're talking the future of mRNA and, well, what it might mean for your portfolio.
Exactly. And this deep dive, it isn't just about what Moderna is doing. It's about understanding why their strategy matters for long-term value. Our analysis is based on the latest data we have, I think late July 2025. So looking at what you typically see in, say, Q1 or Q2 earnings reports from that year, a real step-by-step look at the investment drivers.
All right, let's unpack this basic question first. Who is Moderna, really, beyond just the COVID Vaccine Association?
Okay, so Moderna, at its heart, is a pioneering biotech company. They're leading the charge in messenger RNA, mRNA technology. Think of mRNA as like instructions. It tells your body cells how to make specific proteins, and these proteins can then prevent or treat a whole range of diseases. The key thing here is they're not just a vaccine company. They're really about this underlying engine for discovery and manufacturing.
Right. And Spikevax, their COVID vaccine, everyone knows that. It was a massive game changer, huge revenue, global name recognition. But for investors, that success, as big as it was, is really just the tip of the iceberg, isn't it?
Absolutely. The real story, the one that gets long-term investors interested, is the mRNA technology platform itself. It's designed to be fast, flexible, scalable across a whole lot of diseases, not just vaccines, but think potential treatments for cancer, autoimmune conditions, even rare genetic diseases. The pandemic really, validated that platform, showed it was robust, agile, and Moderna, they've poured money into this big investments in production, in R&D, shows they really believe this tech can disrupt medicine.
So for you listening, this means shifting focus. Look beyond just COVID. Recognize the potential of this core tech platform, almost like a factory, and how they're trying to use it everywhere. Okay, so they've got this platform. The next big question for any investor is always the money, right? Can they actually execute? What do the financials look like, say, as of mid-2025?
Well, historically, yeah, the revenue story was overwhelmingly COVID vaccines. That concentration, it means revenue can be pretty volatile, depends heavily on, pandemic waves, government contracts. They made huge profits, billions in free cash flow during the peak. But that profitability, it's expected to level off, maybe even decline as vaccine demand changes. And here's a key point on the financials now. It's not just that R&D spending is high. It's about the efficiency of that spend. The market's really scrutinizing that now.
Okay. So with COVID money less certain, investors want to see results from that R&D spend in the other parts of the pipeline.
Exactly. You need to see real progress to justify that ongoing R&D burn rate. The focus shifts from just revenue growth to return on innovation.
And their balance sheet, after that huge influx of cash, how's their cash position looking?
Oh, exceptionally strong. They have substantial cash and equivalents, billions. It gives them a huge runway.
So plenty of resources for R&D, maybe M&A.
Precisely. They can fund ongoing work, do strategic deals, maybe buy other companies or tech, all without needing to issue more stock or take on lots of debt. Their debt ratio is super low, actually. Sets them apart from a lot of biotechs.
So looking forward from mid-2025, how's that revenue mix likely to change?
Well, the COVID vaccine, the expectation is it transitions, becomes more like a seasonal flu shot market, regular demand.
So pricing power and market share become key there.
Right. But the real future, it hinges on other successes. Their RSV vaccine for older adults is absolutely critical, but the competition there is intense.
Yeah, you've got GSK with Arexvy, Pfizer with Abrysvo. They're already approved right there.
Exactly. So that's a tough fight. Then there's their mRNA flu vaccine, another potential big revenue stream, but long-term. True diversification that depends on commercializing things like their cancer vaccines, the personalized one, mRNA 4157 they're doing with Merck and other therapies further down the pipeline.
Okay. And thinking back to those Q1 or Q2 2025 results investors were looking at, beyond just the headline numbers, what signals were they really watching for?
They wanted to see, first, how well Moderna managed that expected drop in COVID sales. Did they beat or miss those lowered expectations? Crucially, pipeline progress. Any news on phase 3 trials, regulatory submissions, especially for RSV and flu, that was huge.
And the R&D spending efficiency you mentioned?
Yep. Are they getting more bang for their buck? And finally, the company's own guidance. What were they forecasting for the full year on revenue and profit? That forward look is essential.
Understanding Moderna itself is key, but yeah, no company exists in a bubble.
Yeah.
Let's zoom out. What's the broader industry landscape, the competitive forces they're dealing with?
Okay, a vital trend is just the advancement of the mRNA platform itself, constantly improving delivery, stability, how it triggers the immune system, and also watching how mRNA compares to other cutting-edge tech. Things like Sera, which aims to silence genes.
Right, turning off disease-causing proteins.
Exactly, and CRISPR, which actually edits DNA to fix errors. These are different tools, sometimes complementary, sometimes competing in that broader gene therapy space.
And the overall vaccine market, how's that shifting?
Well, the COVID market, clearly moving from pandemic to endemic, that changes pricing, market size. But the respiratory virus market, RSV, flu, that's a big growth area, especially for older adults. That plays right into Moderna's strategy. Plus, there's growing demand for new vaccines where there aren't good options now. Think cancer, HIV, areas where mRNA speed could be a real advantage.
Okay, who are the main competitors they're really squaring off against?
For mRNA tech itself, it's Pfizer-BioNTech primarily.
Yeah.
But in that critical RSV market, like we said, GSK's Arexvy, Pfizer's Abrysvo, they're tough competitors already established.
And in flu?
Traditional flu, yeah, you've got the giants, Sanofi, Seqirus, longtime players. For cancer vaccines, even though they partner with Merck, they're also competing with BioNTech's own cancer programs. So connecting that for investors, Moderna's edge. It comes from being an early mover in mRNA, pouring investment into it. They have a broad pipeline, not just COVID. That platform allows rapid development, and of course, that huge cash pile from the pandemic.
Makes sense. And then, bigger picture.
Yeah.
What about macroeconomic forces? How do things like inflation or interest rates affect a growth stock like Moderna?
Yeah, that's important. Global economic growth, consumer confidence, that can indirectly hit government health budgets, overall spending. Essential vaccines are a bit insulated maybe, but still a factor. Inflation and interest rates, though, those are critical for a company like Moderna. High inflation boosts production costs. High interest rates, that makes financing R&D or M&A more expensive, and it can really weigh down the valuation multiples of growth stocks.
But if rates start coming down?
Expectations of rate cuts. That could be quite positive for the whole biotech sector, yeah. Also, government health policies are huge. Budgets for vaccine purchasing, public health initiatives, that directly impacts Moderna's revenue. And here's a provocative point. The potential for new health crises, new epidemics. Moderna's proven they can develop vaccines incredibly fast. That capability means they could be central in a future crisis, which represents, well, a significant, if unpredictable, upside.
Okay, let's talk risk. No investment is risk-free. What are the key pitfalls investors really need to watch out for with Moderna?
The biggest one still is that high revenue dependence on COVID. As demand keeps falling and competition heats up, you could see sharp revenue drops. Maybe even, 50% year-over-year declines aren't out of the question. Plus, government contracts are volatile, there's price pressure.
And the pipeline itself carries risk, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's inherent in biotech. The uncertainty and high failure rate of clinical trials, it costs billions to develop these things, and many promising candidates just fail. Late-stage trials flop, regulators say no, or there are delays. It's like venture capital for molecules, really. Most don't make it.
But the ones that do?
The ones that do can be massive game changers. But the risk is real. Then there's the fierce competition, not just other mRNA players, but big pharma with huge sales forces. IP disputes, patent fights over mRNA tech, that's a constant background risk, potentially very costly. Managing production and supply chains efficiently as they shift to new products, that's crucial too. And finally, those macro shifts, continued high rates, maybe new drug price regulations, those could definitely hit profitability.
So, given all that fundamental focus, how should an investor even think about technical analysis for a stock like Moderna? Does it have a place?
That's a good question. For a volatile biotech like this, technical analysis can give you some insights into sentiment, maybe key trading levels, but it's often, frankly, secondary to the fundamental news. You might look at support and resistance. Does the stock hold above a key long-term level? Does it struggle to break through resistance after some good news?
Moving averages, like the 50-day, 200-day.
Yeah, those can show trends. But for Moderna, a golden cross might look bullish, but then boom, phase 3 results come out and blow that technical signal away. Volume is important, but usually spikes around news events. Indicators like RSI for overbought, oversold, MCD for trend strength, they're tools. But, and this is critical for biotechs, Fundamental news almost always trumps technicals. Positive trial data and FDA approval, a big partnership that can cause massive rapid price swings. 20%, 30% in a day isn't uncommon.
For long-term investors.
For long-term investors, it's typically the fundamental story, the pipeline progress, the path to commercialization that really matters more than short-term chart patterns.
Okay, let's tie this back to their long-term prospects. What internal strengths does Moderna have to navigate all these challenges and actually grow beyond the pandemic windfall?
Well, number one is their R&D capability. That proven ability to keep refining the mRNA platform, apply it to new diseases, run those complex trials, navigate the regulatory maze, that's paramount. And crucially, their production and supply chain management. It needs to be super flexible now, adapting to changing demand, smoothly switching to making new products like RSV and flu vaccines.
What about leadership?
Yeah, the leadership and vision are vital. CEO Stefan Bancel's deep belief in mRNA's long-term power, their crisis management skills, that matters, their ability to forge strategic partnerships and do smart M&A to bring in new tech or pipeline assets, that's a key growth lever. And then, fundamentally, attracting and keeping top talent. Scientists, researchers, clinical experts, and finally, leveraging that strong financial health, using their cash wisely to fuel all this innovation. That's their staying power.
So, pulling it all together,
Right.
what's the bottom line for an investment decision right now?
Look, Moderna is clearly a leader. They have this incredibly innovative mRNA platform, really poised to change medicine. The COVID vaccine proved their potential, no doubt. But the critical challenge now is stabilizing revenue as COVID fades and successfully launching those new products, especially RSV and flu. That's job one. Long-term value. That's going to be driven by the breadth and success of the whole pipeline. Those cancer vaccines, other therapies down the road, it's definitely a stock with high volatility. That's just the nature of biotech and pipeline dependence. So it's really suitable for investors who can stomach that risk, who have a long-term view, and who are willing to track that pipeline progress and those regulatory milestones really closely.
Okay, and here's something provocative for you to think about as we wrap up. Go beyond the financials, beyond the pipeline charts for a moment. Consider the truly revolutionary potential of mRNA itself. How might this platform fundamentally change how we treat diseases we currently consider incurable, or even just chronic conditions needing lifelong management? Could that happen within, say, the next decade? And what does that imply for the future of healthcare globally, and with the companies like Moderna leading that charge? Something to mull over. If this deep dive was helpful, please subscribe. We look forward to exploring more fascinating topics with you next time on The Deep Dive.